of Lost Ark has been breaking records. Now let's go ahead and watch this video by KiraTV. Not this. Okay, close these things. Okay, this is by KiraTV. Now let's see what is he talking about this.
Lost Ark has launched in the West and the game is absolutely crushing it, even more so than I imagined, which is interesting since anyone who followed Lost Ark and the game's reception in other regions knew that this would be a smash hit. Amazon Game Studios' marketing reach yet again proving that even if the product they release isn't good, they can push it to so many people that they will see a massive commercial success. So when the game is actually great, has tons of content and a development team that loves the product with that marketing push, it is going to result in record-breaking numbers on opening weekend. Lost Ark has overtaken Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which previously held the record of second highest concurrent player peak on Steam, with 1,308,963 players, and Lost Ark has had 1,325,305, and that is with the servers not even working, and a lot of those players unable to even get to the queue screen. The game's breaking records, and for good reason. So this video isn't going to be a review. I'm not going to go in depth and say, these are the pros and cons or anything. You don't need me to tell you if Lost Ark's good or not, because you can see the numbers. It's free, so you can try it at zero cost. And there are a million other videos out there that will give you a deeper dive than I ever could in my limited experience. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about how I feel regarding the game, and let's be real, the game's so popular, the servers are so full, that I can't log on and play anyway, so I might as well talk about it. Mostly though, I just wanted to hit on a few points about the game's launch, Amazon Game Studios, and a few other bits and pieces. So my experience with Lost Ark is playing very briefly on the KR server, then the Russian server for a few days, and now basically catching up and slightly surpassing where I was on there, on this official launch when the head start was active and I could actually log on and play. The leveling experience of Lost Ark is nothing to shout home about. It's par for the course for MMORPG leveling, which is to say it's designed to be so easy and digestible that it can be done by literally anybody in the world so as not to create a barrier for entry on the game. You can level to cap on Lost Ark while asleep at the wheel, and if you're not someone who pays attention to story, you likely will be asleep at the wheel, aside from the combat being fun enough to keep you up and some dungeons being cool enough to keep you interested. The questing is extremely simple, even for MMO standard, but honestly Lost Ark is not offensive in how they make you quest, despite it being fairly boring. They know that you're likely not there to do quests, and so despite that being how you are leveling, how they're introducing you to things in the game, they're not a labor. You will find yourself picking up a quest, walking to a nearby area, killing a couple of creatures or interacting with a couple of things, and then you're just done. It's not like, do 20 monsters here, pick up 20 things here. It's really easy, it's really quick, and you will just be going from area to area doing this. This does, however, mean that if you don't pay attention to the story, it is a spam G simulator, and G being the key that you use to skip dialogue and pick up quests. This sounds not too great, but honestly, if you present to me a super long-winded and grindy leveling experience, or how Lost Ark is doing it, I'm taking Lost Ark, especially since they do break up the questing with introducing you to multiple gameplay elements that are deep and interesting, as well as, again, dungeons that are fun to play because of just how different they are to what you've likely experienced in other similar games. That being said, Lost Ark is clearly a game that wants you to get to level cap and wants you to be playing there, as most MMOs do, as the genre moved away from the journey being the focal point a long time ago, with a few exceptions such as Final Fantasy XIV and other story-focused games. The level cap is where you're going to find that difficult content that you're going to crave if you are a progression-inclined player, as well as the massive amount of side systems to progress through. So that's my experience with the game so far. It's fun, the combat's fun, the graphics are nice, the world is cool, and I know the game has a ton of endgame content, so that keeps you looking forward and getting through the questing, which isn't the best. It's not the best leveling experience in my opinion. My biggest gripe with the game is that I feel like I need a PhD to interact with the UI, because there's literally 1,000 screens with information I have very little idea about, and then there's about 600 different currencies and things that the game keeps giving me or showing me, and it's confusing. I feel like you really need to watch some videos or read a lot of stuff to understand this and what these things do, and that may be off-putting for some people, but it hasn't been a hindrance to the game for me because I don't feel like I need these things, because again, the leveling is so easy. So it's something you'll probably learn about later, and that being said, let's talk about the launch. Lost Ark did a 3-day founder's head start for people who bought packs on the site, ranging from bronze at $15 all the way up to platinum for $100. Anyone who bought a pack would get access 3 days prior to the official launch so they could play on the 8th instead of the 11th. I'm not a big fan of this tactic myself, but they at least didn't layer it based on package T. They oh, the bottom pack gets a 3-day head start and the middle gets a 7-day, and then the top gets a 14 or something ridiculous like that. This head start likely also helped Lost Ark prepare for the absolute storm that was going to hit the servers when the free-to-play dropped, since Head Start had already been peaking at 500,000 concurrent players, which is, it's ridiculous. That's a lot of people buying in, and obviously when free-to-play launched, that has gone absolutely crazy. Unfortunately, it didn't help as well as we would have hoped, since on the early afternoon of Sunday the 13th, you are lucky if you can even get to the queue to wait to play the game, as many people are receiving an error saying the game's too busy and it just boots you off, and then you get to enjoy clicking to load the game up again and then waiting for 60 seconds as nothing happens before it even brings you to the splash screen of the game. That means it sucks that it kicks you back to the desktop whenever it says it's busy and doesn't just let you sit in, you know, another queue. A queue to a queue would have been preferable here. So the Founders launch, however, was pretty good. They had very few issues. Some people had brief queues the first 30 minutes or so. People had some login errors. But in general, it was one of the smoothest launch experiences I've seen for a game with 500,000 concurrent players online. So congrats to Amazon Game Studios on that, because they do deserve that recognition when they do good, not just a slap on the nose with a newspaper when they do bad. The free-to-play launch, however, it's not been going good. They had a slight delay due to some issues on the back end. They brought the servers up and player characters from the Founders Head Start were missing. They disappeared, so they brought this down and fixed it within a few hours. And then the launch has been pretty much what you'd expect for an MMORPG. The reviews of the game are being tanked due to people being unhappy that they can't play, and while they're not wrong to complain because that is their experience and they are free to express it, this is the world we live in when it comes to games that release and have 1.3 million people try to log on concurrently on like day 2 of the launch. This isn't me making excuses, this is just a simple fact that very few game launchers ever see this population boom, and of the very few that do, close to 0 of them have no server issues because of it. Expectations are a major thing in life, and if you expected this launch to be flawless while seeing those kind of numbers, that kind of hype, your expectations were the point of failure. It does suck. I wish I could play just like everyone else does, but I do believe you have to give some kind of leeway on these things and have a few days of a buffer. I tend not to try to play on launch day. I didn't play on launch day of the Founders experience. I didn't try to play on launch day of the free-to-play experience. And I do think that's the best way to do these things. Give them a few days of leeway before you start going hard in the paint, especially if you are a free-to-play person who didn't pay for the product in the first place. That being said, there are things that we can discuss regarding Amazon Game Studios and the launch that may provide you some comedic relief and don't actually play into the fact that it's a big launch and it's going to have some probably big delays in playing the game. Amazon Game Studios noticed that the game was too good. It was making them look bad, and they needed to remind you guys that New World still exists, as it currently isn't doing so hot. So they had a meeting and they brainstormed what they could do to get New World on people's brains. What could they do to get people talking about New World, even if they want to play Lost Ark instead, because that game's actually good. They thought, and then it came to them. What is the #1 feature of New World that they as publishers could put into Lost Ark without being the game developer and being unable to change many things? Of course, it's dupes, right? Item duplications, duplications of wealth and ruining the in-game economy, the one thing New World's known best for. So they got to work and they made sure that Lost Ark would also launch with a dupe to try and save the ever-dwindling population of New World, which in my mind is one of the most disappointing MMO launches ever, and based on my own expectations of what New World should have been with such a big company, with so much money, so much development time, an absolute abject failure. Now, I'm obviously mostly joking here. They, of course, didn't do this on purpose, and it does suck, being that, you know, they're known for New World having so many dupes, and then Lost Ark immediately launches with a dupe. But AGS dealt with this pretty quickly, and luckily this time they do have a competent development team over in Smilegate to fall back on and assist in remedying issues that they undoubtedly have faced in their own multiple years of operating the most popular MMORPG in South Korea. Lost Ark Korea had dupes as well, so this isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, it's guaranteed to be Amazon, they're super incompetent, although that is clearly a meme and is funny, so we should probably lean into that. Apparently 4% of accounts on Amazon Game Studios' launch of Lost Ark had duplicated founder rewards, which would clearly be a very big deal to the game, and they resolved the issue in a matter of hours, while confirming to be working with Smilegate to eliminate any advantages or perks for the users affected by this. On top of that, while memeing on AGS for something that they're well known for at this stage and having a bit of fun with it, they have also done some positive PR things for Lost Ark and given the players a token of goodwill. A lot of people are unhappy that the founders' items that they bought are are character specific, as they would like to use their founder skins etc across their whole account and on different characters which they undoubtedly will be playing. While not allowing this big of a change, which would likely cost them a bunch of revenue of people buying skins for other characters in the cash shop, they did give people a second redemption of the Founders Pack, according to an official communication from AGS staff. They presented this as a way of helping to combat players who were on Founders head starts, not wanting to swap to new servers, and of course that would alleviate queues on those bigger servers and get people playing sooner. And this is of course a small token and a little bit of goodwill, but it is a much welcome fix. It is something that a lot of people will appreciate. While not addressing the whole concerns, it's still better than what we had before, and while it doesn't address the fact that a lot of people can't even connect to the game to choose a lower population server, if lower population servers even existed, which they don't, it's still a positive move on their part and one that earns them some brownie points for sure. All of that being said, Lost Ark is currently unplayable if you're trying to get onto the game, unless you are incredibly lucky or incredibly early in the day. But when you do get in, expect to find a well-polished game with fun combat, great visuals, and tons of content for both progression-minded players and casuals alike. Lost Ark is a good game from a developer that really cares about their product, with large content patches waiting to be released to keep that going, a proven track record of maintaining a great player base, and of the things AGS could fuck up with the product, we're seeing most of them now. I anticipate once the servers get fixed and people can actually log on without queues or issues, most people are going to be happy with the game that they get and the value they get for the cost of entry, which happens to be absolutely nothing, which is always helpful. Appreciate you all for watching, good luck getting into the game, and I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, we out, peace.
Okay, what do you guys think about this game? Put it in the comment section so we can discuss about this. Thank you.